That beautiful plant at the garden center, the one labeled fast, growing and low maintenance. It could be a secret invader, a garden thug in disguise that can crack foundations, strangle other plants, and take over your entire yard. Today, we are counting down the 10 worst garden nightmares you should never, ever plant. Stick with us for our number 1, a beguiling monster that can literally break your foundation, and failing to recognize it could become the most expensive mistake you ever make as a homeowner. Plant number 10, Multiflora Rose. Coming in at number 10 is a plant whose name sounds utterly romantic, the Multiflora Rose, or Rosa multiflora. The deception, and frankly, who could blame a gardener for falling for it? In late spring, it explodes into a cascade of fragrant, delicate white. 2. Pinkish flowers. It was introduced to the United States from Asia back in the 1860s, first as a sturdy rootstock for fancy, ornamental roses. Later, government agencies even promoted it for erosion control and as a living fence for livestock. It grows fast, it's thorny, and it creates a dense barrier. For someone wanting a quick, natural-looking hedge or to cover a difficult bank, it seems like an ideal, low-cost solution. The nightmare. But this rose's romantic image quickly fades. Multiflora Rose is a thicket-forming monster. It doesn't just spread, it conquers. Each arching cane can grow up to 15 feet long, and wherever the tip of a cane touches the ground, it can root, creating a new plant. This process, called layering, allows it to form dense, thorny, impenetrable masses that are impossible to walk through. But its primary weapon is seed production. A single bush can produce, in some estimates, up to 500,000 seeds in a year, which birds eat and then distribute far and wide. And those seeds can remain viable in the soil for up to 20 years. The result is an ecological desert. These thickets shade out and outcompete native plants, destroying habitats for local wildlife and forming a monoculture of thorny chaos. The reality of removal. Just cutting it back is a declaration of war that you will lose. Pruning actually stimulates even more vigorous growth. To truly get rid of it, you have to physically dig out the entire root system, a painful task thanks to its viciously sharp, hooked thorns. Any root fragments left behind will resprout. It's a battle of attrition that requires relentless vigilance for years, if not decades, thanks to that massive seed bank just waiting in the soil. A far better choice for a beautiful, native hedge is something like a pasture rose or swamp rose, both of which provide the beauty without the belligerence. Plant number 9, Russian vine. At number 9, we have a plant nicknamed Mile a Minute, and it has earned that name. It's the Russian vine, or Falopia baltsquanica. The cunning deception. If you have an ugly fence, a stark wall, or a shed you want to hide, and you want to hide it like yesterday, Russian vine seems like a miracle. It's sold as a super fast growing climber that can put on over 13 feet of growth in a single year. From midsummer to autumn, it's absolutely smothered in clouds of creamy, white flowers, creating a truly impressive display. It's incredibly hardy, tolerant of almost any soil, and thrives in sun or partial shade. What's not to love? It's the ultimate instant gratification plant for covering large, unsightly structures. The growing nightmare. The problem is, it doesn't know when to stop. That rapid growth isn't just a feature, it's a threat. Russian vine climbs by wrapping itself around other things, and it will quickly overwhelm and suffocate anything in its path. Shrubs, trees, pergolas, you name it. It blocks out sunlight, starving other plants of the energy they need to live. Its woody stems will force their way into any small crack or gap, prying apart fences, growing through the roof of your shed, and getting into gutters and behind siding, potentially causing structural damage. It's notorious for causing disputes between neighbors as it relentlessly creeps from one property to the next. To make matters worse, it's a close relative of the number 1 plant on our list and shares its aggressive nature. Research has even shown it can hybridize with Japanese knotweed, creating a new invasive threat. The reality of removal. Because of its aggressive root system and sheer vigor, getting rid of Russian vine is a grueling task. Simply cutting it back is like giving a hydra a haircut. It will just come back stronger. Complete eradication requires cutting the plant down to the ground, and then painstakingly digging out all the roots, which can be a multi-year project as you chase down every last piece. Some people even resort to repeated herbicide treatments. If you want a fast, growing vine that won't declare war on your property, consider a native like Virginia creeper or a well-behaved clematis. Plant number 8, burning bush. Our number 8 spot goes to a plant that is, without a doubt, the star of the autumn landscape, burning bush or Euonymus alatus. The deception. Walk through any suburban neighborhood in October and you can't miss it. The burning bush is famous for its almost fluorescent, fiery red fall foliage. It is absolutely stunning. Originally brought over from Asia in the 1860s, it became a landscape staple because it's easy to grow, adaptable to different soils, and has a neat, manageable shape. It's often used for hedges or foundation plantings and promises maximum fall impact with minimal effort. For decades, it's been one of the most popular ornamental shrubs in North America. The destructive nightmare. The problem with burning bush isn't what it does in your yard, it's what it does everywhere else. The plant produces small reddish fruits that birds find irresistible. They feast on the berries, fly off, and deposit the seeds in nearby forest fields and parks. The seeds germinate easily, and because the plant is tolerant of deep shade, it can thrive under the forest canopy. There, it forms dense, sprawling thickets that completely displace native shrubs and wildflowers. It creates a sterile understory where the native plants that wildlife depend on can no longer grow. An ecosystem is a delicate web, and burning bush tears a huge hole in it. Its popularity has led to it being recognized as a serious invasive threat in at least 21 states. Several United States, including Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Pennsylvania, have banned its sale entirely. The reality of removal. In your own yard, a single burning bush is easy enough to manage. But the real task is dealing with an escaped population. Removing a new seedling is simple, but once they become established shrubs, it often requires a multi-year effort of cutting them back and treating the stumps to prevent resprouting. The sad truth is that every burning bush planted in a garden acts as a launchpad for the invasion of surrounding natural areas. If you crave that spectacular fall color, consider native alternatives like highbush blueberry, which offers beautiful red fall foliage plus edible berries, or chokeberry. And speaking of berries, plant number 7, Japanese barberry. At number 7, we find another incredibly popular landscape shrub, prized for its color and durability, Japanese barberry, or Berberis thunbergi. The smiling deception. Drive past any commercial landscaping or modern subdivision, and you're bound to see it. Japanese barberry is the workhorse of low-maintenance planting. It comes in beautiful shades of deep burgundy, gold, and vibrant green. It's drought-tolerant, deer-resistant, and can grow in full sun or shade. Introduced from Japan in the 1870s, it became a go-to for creating neat, colorful hedges and borders that require almost no care. It's tough, it's attractive, and it seems to solve a lot of common landscaping problems. The nightmare. This plant is a public health menace disguised as an ornamental shrub. Like burning bush, birds spread its seeds into natural areas. Once there, it forms dense, thorny thickets that are practically impenetrable to humans and large animals, choking out native wildflowers and tree seedlings. But the real nightmare is twofold. First, research shows it can alter the soil chemistry beneath it, raising the pH and changing nutrient levels, which makes the soil more hospitable for more barberry and less so for native plants. It literally terraforms the environment to its own liking. Second, and more alarmingly, these dense thickets create the perfect humid microclimate for ticks. Numerous scientific studies have found that areas infested with Japanese barberry have significantly higher populations of black-legged ticks, the carriers of Lyme disease. This isn't just an ecological threat, it's a direct threat to human health. The ugly reality of removal. Getting rid of Japanese barberry is a painful and thankless task. The shrubs are vengeful, vicious hoes really, covered in sharp spines that make handling them difficult. You can try to pull small plants, but established ones have to be dug out, and any piece of root left behind can potentially resprout. It's low. Hanging branches can also root where they touch the soil, helping the thicket expand. It's a triple threat of spreading by seed, root, and branch. Choosing a native alternative like Virginia sweetspire gives you beautiful fall color and fragrant summer flowers without turning your local woods into a tick-infested fortress. But check out our next hot mess. Plant number 6, wisteria. Climbing into our number 6 spot is a vine that drapes homes in pure floral fantasy. Chinese or Japanese wisteria. The gorgeous, sweet, smelling deception. Few plants can match the breathtaking romanticism of a wisteria in full bloom. Those long, cascading clusters of fabulously fragrant, pea-like flowers in shades of lavender, pink, or white are the stuff of garden dreams. It's why people plant them to climb up pergolas, porches and the fronts of houses. Introduced from China and Japan in the early 1800s, these Asian varieties promise to turn any structure into a stunning feature. They are vigorous growers, and that vision of being surrounded by drooping flowers is a powerful temptation. The creeping nightmare. The dream can quickly sour into a structural nightmare. Asian wisteria vines are botanical pythons. Their woody stems grow incredibly thick and heavy, and they climb by twining with immense force. They can crush flimsy trellises, strangle mature trees by girdling their trunks, and can tear gutters and siding right off a house, throwing them to the ground with contempt. The vines will send shoots into any crack or opening, potentially weakening mortar and destabilizing structures over time. Wisteria doesn't just climb on a structure, it can consume it. Beyond the structural damage, they are aggressive spreaders. They send out runners that can root to create new plants and are prolific self-seeders. These escaped plants can form dense thickets in the wild, smothering native vegetation under a heavy blanket of leaves. The reality of removal and struggle for peace. Removing a mature wisteria is a major demolition project. The thick, woody trunks often need to be cut with a saw, but just cutting the vine at the base isn't enough. The root system is incredibly stubborn and will send up new sprouts for years. You have to be relentless. The good news is, you can have the beauty without the beast. American wisteria, or Wisteria frutescens, is a native alternative that is far less aggressive and just as beautiful, making it a much safer choice for your garden and home. Video call to action. Are you looking at your own garden and starting to get a little nervous? If you're finding this information helpful, take a second to hit that like button and consider subscribing. It really helps this video reach more gardeners so we can all avoid these botanical nightmares together. Now, let's get to the truly terrifying top 5. Plant number 5, Tree of Heaven. Kicking off our top 5 is a plant with a truly deceptive name, the Tree of Heaven, or Ailanthus altissima. The deception. Introduced from China in the late 1700s, this tree was celebrated for its ability to grow almost anywhere. It's incredibly fast, growing and tolerant of pollution and poor soils, which made it a popular choice for urban landscaping. For someone in a tough growing environment, a tree that can provide shade and greenery quickly, without any fuss, sounds like a godsend. It has large, tropical-looking leaves that can make it seem quite exotic and desirable. The nightmare. This tree is anything but heavenly. It's one of the most aggressive and damaging, invasive trees in North America. First, it spreads relentlessly. A single female tree can produce hundreds of thousands of seeds a year that get carried by the wind. But its real superpower is its root system. It sends out aggressive suckers, creating dense thickets that are all connected to the parent tree. Its roots are so powerful they are known to damage sewers and pavement, and can even pose a risk to building foundations. But its most sinister weapon is chemical warfare. The Tree of Heaven is allelopathic, meaning it releases a toxin called ailanthone from its roots into the soil, which inhibits or kills other plants growing nearby. It poisons the competition to ensure its own dominance. Root. To top it all off, it's the preferred host for another destructive invasive, the spotted lanternfly, an insect that devastates crops and ornamental plants. The reality of removal. This is one of the hardest plants to control. If you just cut down a Tree of Heaven without treating the stump, you will trigger a massive response from the root system, resulting in an explosion of new sprouts. Effective removal requires a careful and persistent approach, often involving targeted herbicide applications to kill the vast root network. It's a long and difficult fight, and you may not ultimately prevail. Instead of this hellish tree, consider planting a native sumac or black walnut, which have a similar look without the catastrophic side effects. Plant number 4, English ivy. At number 4, we have a classic romantic-looking vine that is in reality a slow motion destroyer, English ivy, or Heterohelix. The polite deception. There's a timeless, scholarly look to an old brick building covered in English ivy. It's lush, it's evergreen, and it's an incredibly popular choice for ground cover in shady areas where nothing else will grow, or for covering unsightly walls and fences. It seems elegant and low maintenance, a touch of old world charm for your home and garden. The imperialist nightmare. Don't be fooled by its innocent look. This plant can be a structural terrorist. It attaches to surfaces with small aerial roots that work their way into any pre-existing hairline crack. On sound, modern masonry, this may not be a huge issue. However, on older buildings with lime Based mortar, or any wall with minor cracks, it's a disaster. The roots penetrate the mortar and slowly break it apart. Water gets into these newly widened cracks, and in colder climates, the freeze-thaw cycle can cause significant damage. It can pry its way under siding, lift shingles, clog gutters, and break into safes, often stealing the valuables inside. When used as a ground cover, it forms a dense, green desert where no native ground flora can survive. And when it climbs trees, it smothers them, blocking sunlight and adding immense weight, making them more likely to break in storms. It essentially hugs your home and your trees to death. The reality of removal. Removing ivy from a wall is a treacherous task. If you just rip it off, you're likely to pull off paint, chunks of mortar, or tree bark with it. The proper way is to cut the vines at the base, wait for the upper portions to die and wither, and then carefully pry them off. But even then, the root system in the ground must be completely dug out, because any remaining piece will vigorously resprout. It's a painstaking process. For a beautiful climbing vine, much safer choices are Boston ivy or Virginia creeper, and for a ground cover, consider native pachysandra or wild ginger. Okay, on to the last 3 of our garden monsters. Plant number 3, bamboo. Breaking into our top 3 is a plant desired for its exotic look and screening ability, but feared for its unstoppable aggression, running bamboo. The breezy deception. People want privacy, and they want it fast. Running bamboo species, like those in the Philostachys genus, are often marketed as the perfect solution. They grow tall and dense, creating an instant lush green screen that sways beautifully in the wind. The aesthetic is modern, zen, and tropical all at once. It seems like a fantastic way to block out the neighbors and create a private backyard oasis in just a season or 2. The existential nightmare. This is not a plant. It's a subterranean army. The running, in its name, refers to its method of spread, underground stems called rhizomes. These rhizomes can travel many feet horizontally underground, completely unseen, before sending up new shoots, called culms. This means the bamboo you planted in your back corner can suddenly pop up in the middle of your lawn, in your neighbor's flower bed, or in some reported cases, even push up through an asphalt driveway. These rhizomes are powerful and relentless. They don't respect property lines, and once a running bamboo grove is established, containing it can become a near impossible and lifelong commitment. Stories of running bamboo horror are common, with gardeners spending thousands of dollars and years of their lives in a futile battle against its spread. It can overwhelm entire landscapes, creating a dense, impenetrable jungle where nothing else can grow. The reality of removal. This is one of the most difficult and expensive removal jobs in all of gardening. Simply cutting the canes does nothing. The energy is stored in the massive underground rhizome network. Eradication often requires heavy machinery to dig out the entire root mass or years of persistent, resource-intensive management. Some gardeners resort to installing thick, deep underground barriers, but even these can fail if not installed perfectly. If you love the look of bamboo, the only safe way to go is to plant a clumping variety. Clumping bamboos have a different rhizome structure that expands very slowly from the center, much like a traditional ornamental grass, and won't send out aggressive runners to take over your yard and your life. Plant number 2, kudzu, our runner. Up for the worst garden nightmare of all time is a plant so infamous it has its own nickname, the vine that ate the South. We're talking about kudzu. The deception. Believe it or not, kudzu was once celebrated. It was first introduced to the United States at the 1876 Philadelphia Centennial Exposition as a beautiful ornamental vine, praised for its sweet smelling purple flowers and large leaves. Later, during the Great Depression, the Soil Conservation Service actively promoted it, paying farmers to plant it to control soil erosion. It seemed like a miracle plant. It fed livestock, stabilized soil, and grew with astonishing speed. And the nightmare. The miracle became a plague. Kudzu grows at a terrifying rate, up to a foot a day in peak season. It spreads through vines that root at the nodes whenever they touch the ground, and through a massive underground root system. It climbs over anything and everything in its path: fences, houses, utility poles, even entire forests. It blankets the landscape in a thick green shroud, blocking all sunlight from the plants below. Trees, even massive mature ones, are slowly killed as they are starved of light and weighed down by the immense burden of the vines. It creates a smothering monoculture, wiping out biodiversity and destroying entire ecosystems. They are the corporations of the plant world. The exhausting reality of removal. Eradicating kudzu is a monumental task, often requiring war on multiple fronts. It involves years of repeated mowing to deplete the root stores, targeted herbicide use, and sometimes even prescribed grazing with goats, which love to eat it. Because it can regrow from any root crown left in the soil, the battle against kudzu is a long, expensive, and exhausting one. Kudzu is a powerful, living lesson in the devastating consequences of introducing a plant without understanding its potential to conquer. There is no safe alternative that behaves like kudzu, because its behavior is precisely the problem. It stands as a stark warning to all gardeners. Yet there is one even more feared, more reviled, more disgusted upon. Plant number 1, Japanese knotweed. And here it is, the number 1, undisputed, most terrifying garden nightmare you could ever plant, Japanese knotweed, or Rhianutria japonica. The filthy deception. Imported in the 19th century as a beautiful and unusual ornamental, Japanese knotweed has large, heart-shaped leaves and produces sprays of creamy white flowers in late summer. It grows incredibly fast, and for someone looking to create a dense screen or hedge in a hurry, it might seem appealing. It's hardy, tough, and can grow over 10 feet in a single season. The disgusting nightmare. This is not a plant, it is a force of nature. Japanese knotweed is arguably the most destructive invasive plant in North America and Europe. Its power lies in its deep, sprawling network of underground rhizomes. In some documented cases, these rhizomes can extend over 20 feet out from the parent plant and go down nearly 10 feet deep. They are so powerful and grow with such force that they can exploit any weakness in man-made structures. Knotweed can grow through expansion joints in concrete and asphalt and can damage foundations, retaining walls, and drainage systems. An infestation can devalue a property, and in some countries, you are legally required to declare its presence when selling a home. It forms such dense stands that it completely eradicates all native vegetation, altering soil composition and destroying local ecosystems. A piece of rhizome as small as your fingernail can regenerate into a whole new plant. The grim reality of removal. Do not even attempt to remove this plant yourself. Pulling it or cutting it will fail and can even make the problem worse by creating more fragments that can sprout. Mowing just spreads it. Trying to dig it out is almost always futile because of the depth and breadth of the rhizome system. Eradicating Japanese knotweed is a job for specialist contractors and can involve a multi-year and very expensive program of professional-grade herbicide treatments. It is a true botanical time bomb that will get you in the end. There is absolutely no reason, under any circumstance, to ever plant Japanese knotweed. It is the very definition of a garden nightmare and one from which you will not wake up easily, if at all. Have you ever battled one of these garden thugs in your own yard? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience could save another gardener from making the same mistake. And for more tips on creating a beautiful, manageable garden without the nightmares, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching, and happy gardening.